Attention, please. Eastern Airlines Flight 19, now ready for departure.
Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express monorail. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're entering the vacation kingdom of the world.
There's enough land here to hold all the ideas and plans we could possibly imagine. We call it Epcot. Will be our experimental prototype city of tomorrow.
Welcome to another episode of the Retro Disney World Podcast, taking you back to the vacation kingdom of the world, the way it was, and the way it is in your memories.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Retro Disney World Podcast, the official podcast of the Lake Buena Vista Historical Society. This is episode 83.5, Glowing in Timeless Places, where we'll be taking you to Tammy Tucky and her new album of that title. Sitting with me always from the city of brotherly love, Mr. Brian Miles. How are you tonight, Brian?
Greetings and salutations from Philadelphia, the home of Disney 100, the premier exhibition for celebrating the 100th anniversary of Walt Disney Productions.
And as we heard, you're getting Aerosmith early too, right?
We are getting the first
concert ever.
Philadelphia's the first date for Aerosmith's final tour.
So look at that.
So if you want to go and see them without looping an indoor roller coaster that makes you sick, you could just go sit in the Wells Fargo Center and watch them make you sick without motion.
That's right. And coming in from Ohio, Mr. JT Kuger, who I know you got another painting from, it's hanging behind you tonight, JT, the painting by David Coolidge. And I understand you bought one for Mother's Day from David.
I did, yeah.
Just your mom doesn't listen to the show, right? This isn't going to spoil Mother's Day for her?
No, she does not. And
we can't release this till Father's Day now. That's it.
No, I thought she would enjoy that.
Does
so
she have good taste is the question.
I guess. I don't know.
Who doesn't like a good watercolor, right?
Yeah, you know, you hit like your 40th. JT, by the way, happy birthday. JT just celebrated his 40th birthday.
Yeah.
2 months ago. I'm 40, older than 40 now.
Back in the day, they used to call that over the hill.
Mm-hmm.
Because nobody lived to 80. So they just
I just saw pictures of my dad's 40th birthday party. That was something.
And how old did he look?
About the same as me.
All right.
He's holding up well.
That's good. It's good to hear.
Yeah, excited to be here. Welcome to our guest who you're going to introduce soon. So this is exciting.
Hey, coming in from Tampa, St. Petersburg, we always get that. Mr. Hal Bowers, how are you tonight, Hal? Aloha.
Doing good.
That's good.
The other side of the bridge.
The other side of the bridge. That's right. I had 2 drinks at Trader Sam's last week, just how. So I did enjoy the Shipwreck on the Rocks. It's still on the off menu. If you ask for it, it's still there.
Oh, fantastic.
It's not the same in the plastic cups that have been there for a while. It is definitely better in a ceramic mug. But and then I had the zombie, which my wife said it tastes like cigarettes. So I don't know why that came. Like an ashtray. I don't know.
Did she grab one that was sitting in the lobby of the Polynesian that somebody snuffed their cigarette out on?
I don't know. Yeah.
How many cigarettes has she eaten in her life to know what they taste like?
Not many. Well, it's funny. After she said it, I said, okay, I see what you meant. And I think it's not the allspice dram, but I think there's some bitters or something in there that did have more. There was a cinnamon mix. And something else in the zombie, but it's mostly rum.
Sorry, Lieutenant Dan. She tastes like cigarettes.
Oh, it's got falernum, and then they use a thing called BG Reynolds Paradise Blend.
That's probably what
I think is like a passion fruit, and then a lush grenadine, which has some hibiscus. So theirs is a little funky.
Okay, so it's a little different.
There's the cigarette.
And a Lucky Strike.
Right.
That's exactly just mashed down,
smash that up,
muddled the strike.
That's how Walt liked it.
Exactly.
So he would have a Lucky Strike smashed zombie every night before he went to bed.
Yeah,
they actually
with his ice cream.
Yeah, I say they sprinkled the Lucky Strike on the ice cream like crushed nuts. Just
Scotch Mist was a before dinner drink, and the Lucky Strike muddled zombie was his after dinner drink.
Oh man,
where's the sprinkles?
I will say
Hazel.
The night after or before, we went over to Enchanted Rose and had a very stiff drink over there. So the old fashioned there is fantastic. If anybody likes good old fashioned, the Enchanted Rose. It's
the former Meisner's. The former Meisner's.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, and I did learn that the band is still playing. There's a local joint where the band goes and plays. It's just a few miles from Disney World. And I'll have to check that. But anyway, we're not here to talk about their music. We're here to talk about Tammy Tucky's music. Tammy, welcome to the show. You've been on here before. You've been at our events. You're on albums. You're on podcasts. You have your own podcast. You're probably on TV. You're on YouTube. Don't even know it. But Tammy Tucky, welcome to the show.
Hi again. How's it going, you guys?
Good. Welcome.
To hear and see you all.
Always good to have our adopted podcast sister here.
That's right.
Aww. I'm honored. I'm so lucky. I'm so glad and blessed that we are like all good friends now. I can't believe it's been, what was the first show was 2019? Was that the first one?
Yes, that was our first stage show. Yes.
Yeah, we tried to book you when you were 3, but your parents just refused at that young age, I believe.
She was already on TV when she was 3.
True. Right. 2, 1, I don't know.
Oh, well, I'm just so glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So how I know you've listened to the album, we've all listened to it, and you've been talking to Tammy a little bit about it and different things that it encompasses. Oh, Brian's got a copy. He's showing it right there.
Copy of my compact disc right here.
Exactly. The CD. And Brian's, do you have a CD player in the car still? Do you have one?
I do not have a now. The new car, the 2020 model does not have a compact disc player in it.
It's amazing how that's going the way of the cassette player. But anyway, I digress. But take us through the album a little bit here and tell us a little bit about what's inside.
Yeah. So actually the genesis of this kind of is our Retro Magic event, because we were we were running around doing stuff, and I think we had a break between sessions. And I heard no less than 3, 4, or 5 people come up to Tammy during the course of the show and go like, "When are you putting out the next album? When are you putting out the next album? When are you putting out the next album?" and so at one point I pulled her aside and I said, "So when are you going to put out the next album?" And just a couple of months before that, I was able to sit down with Mike McKee from who's a fan of the show and a friend of ours from the band Delta Ray, and their band had an amazing Kickstarter campaign that funded their album like 14 times over. And so I thought, well, okay, I don't know if we'll be able to do that, but at least we should be able to fund these days, crowdsource and fund a new album for Tammy. So I pulled her aside and I said, I think you could do this. I really think you can, with all the folks that we had at Retro Magic and people asking for things, plus her own show, all the wonderful stuff she does. Is like, I really felt like we could make this a reality. And it'd been 5 years?
Yeah. The first one was You'll Find Me on Main Street, which wasn't a CD. It was just like, one of those digital releases. And that was only 7 songs. That was 2018. So, because I think that was another reason you guys asked me to come to the next show, because you were like, we want Ali Olmo there. Do you mind coming? And I think that was what kind of spearheaded that too, which was great.
Yeah. So I think the time was right to do something else. And there was obviously a bunch of stuff in the mix, like Epcot was turning 40 and the first one was, as you said, was Main Street focused. And so for the second one, we kind of threw around the idea of like, oh, maybe it's a little more, at least thematically packaging stuff, it's a little more Epcot-y. So it seemed to fit into the time. And then you went and actually picked out some like really deep cut Epcot songs for it, along with a lot
in
of
the archives.
Yeah, along with a lot of other lovely ones too. But you kick off the album with a song that got played like once all the way through at Epcot, maybe.
Yeah. We've Just Begun to Dream, which was the opening day song, and you were the reason that we even were able to do it on the album, because Disney was like, I don't think we released this. And I said, well, guess what? We approve. And that was because apparently they used part of the song for a Disneyland Paris show. for whatever reason. Yeah. So that was our loophole to being able to start the album with this, first instrumental piece that James Clark, who did some of the instrumentals, he created this. It's like a Tron Epcot sound that he begins the album with. And a lot of people are like, why are you making this so long? And I'm like, I want to, because this is the beginning of the album. This is the journey, right? We're getting into the Disney mindset of being in the parks. So, and I didn't want to do it by myself. So I asked Ali Omo if she would do another song with me. And then I asked Sally Stevens, who was the original singer of Tomorrow's Child, if she would be willing to sing too. So it was the three of us on this track.
That's cool. All right. So let's play that so the folks can hear that. And then we'll talk a little bit more about Ali and Sally when we come out of it. So here it is. Here's We've Just Begun to Dream.
In your heart there's a place, a magical space where it all begins. With your mind as a guide, you light up inside and it starts to spin. Just close your eyes and dream of things to come. In dreams we make tomorrow. We've just begun. Open your eyes, a fantasy in time.
So Tammy, tell us a little bit more about Allie and Sally and who they are, what they've worked on to Disney, how we would know them, because their voices are kind of instrumental for the music of Epcot, I think.
Yeah, they're probably, I think a lot of people recognize their voices almost immediately because you can hear them on almost every single Disney park album. So Sally Stevens was the original singer of Tomorrow's Child for Spaceship Earth at Epcot. And Allie was the original singer for Two Brothers, which is featured in The American Adventure. And now it's also featured at Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln in Disneyland. So I thought what a joy it would be to have them collaborate on another Epcot song, and all three of us and all three of our voices kind of come together and sing this opening song. And it was such a treat because I've always wanted to sing with Sally, and this was like the greatest excuse ever. And then we kind of found out that her ex-husband wrote the song only maybe like a month and a half ago.
That's crazy.
Because she was like, because she was looking it up, and she thinks she actually was probably one of the chorus singers on the track when they opened up the park. She doesn't know for sure, but she thinks she was because she's like, it's familiar. So I guess it's just kind of interesting how it all comes together.
I'm going to take the opportunity to plug her book, but I don't remember the title. Isn't it I Sung That, or
yes,
something like that?
I think
I sang that.
Yeah.
She recently put out a book because she's sung like hundreds of things that you know from commercials and
Simpsons.
Professional recording tracks and session musicians, and so
she has great stories.
Something to take a look
Streisand.
For Sally Stevens. I sang that.
She's brilliant. So yeah, it was great. So they both recorded at the recording studio together that song, and that was in California, and I recorded my part over here in Philly. And I just loved how Brendan, who was our mixer, kind of mixed it together, because I told him I want us to go a little Xanadu on it with the vocals, because I was thinking, a little bit of the Greek goddesses, Olivia Newton-John, like that sound effect going on. So he was like, I know what you're talking about. So that's what we kind of did with the vocals, and I just I love it. I love how it comes together.
Yeah, and I think the thing that kind of strikes me about the album as a whole that I really like is it's not just like, sometimes people just, they remake the song note for note, and it's exactly the way that it was before. And what you've done for all of the songs is a different take on them. So it is songs that we all know, are familiar with. It's like, but it's really the Tammy Tucky version of these songs. And with that one, this We've Just Begun to Dream, there are some 80s kind of throwback things to it, but it's done in a modern way too. It's like, it's not just, as you said, it's like it kind of like plays off a little bit of the Daft Punk, like Tron soundtrack at the beginning, which is wholly appropriate if you're going to do like something, modern in Epcot, but also a little bit retro. So it's a really, really cool way that you brought all that stuff together.
I think that's the hardest part, is when you want to do covers. First of all, you don't want to get people mad that you're changing their precious songs, because I understand. I love all of these songs very dearly, but then you don't want to be a duplicate of everything that you've heard, because I find it absolutely exasperating when I hear that a new celebrity is doing a Disney album, because it's the same 10 songs and it's the same 10 ways of singing the same song, and I just want something new. So when James Clark, who is an instrumentalist in London, and Josh Freelick, who works in New York as an instrumentalist, when we just Zoomed together, I told them what I was hearing in my head and what I wanted to do for each song, because I wanted to make them unique. And then they kind of just went and played, and then they would send what they had done, and I'd be like, I like that, or tweak this a little bit. And it was just really a collaborative process via the computer. That's because we never got to see each other and do it.
I think that's the tricky thing with covers too, is you want to pay respect to the original song, make it your own, change it. I noticed you changed the tempos on a couple, which I think they're great. They threw me for a little bit loop. I'm like, wait, this is not the veggie fruit I know, but it's still fun, right? And here's something I always find with covers, because I was listening to a cover playlist on Spotify today, not Disney, I'm like, oh, that's what that lyric is, because you sang it and it actually happened to one of the songs. Like, oh, I totally know the lyrics now. It's not, I don't know, whatever. But it's really interesting. And then Hal and I were going back and forth a little bit about some of the Disney CD albums that there was 3 or 4.
We'll get to that. Topic.
Oh, I'm getting.
I have that in the in later on.
I didn't read the show notes. I got to go through this.
But while we're talking about Tammy saying you have to be careful not to make anybody mad, Todd, it reminded me of the conversations we've had in Zoom because you sound like my dad and I sound like my dad in that we hate when people sing the national anthem.
Oh yeah.
And Aretha Franklin it up, all of a sudden it's instead of just singing the national anthem, it's and you're like, what is happening here? Like, this is not the national anthem. He used to get so mad when that would happen, when suddenly there was like a 7-minute version of the national anthem as they held notes for 30 seconds at a time. And
what was the one we did back in July for the July 4th special for Disney World? Remember that one?
Wasn't it Sandy Patty?
Oh, that was like unbelievable. Boy, maybe we need to play a clip here of that too, because
that was something.
All right, we'll see everybody back in 10 minutes. All right, we'll be back. Here we go.
You guys sound like my grandpa, just so you know. So
that's okay.
JT, low blow, but we'll take it.
You said you sound like your dad's. It's about the same age. So
thanks.
So, Brian, I think you're the one that got us hooked up with Tammy. Do you guys kind of remember what the beginnings were of how how we met and how we first interfaced with Tammy?
It's a weird, and I know we had Tammy on before, and I chatted about the fact that I knew of her father before I knew her. So in my 20 years ago, I used to watch his infomercials on cable while I was babysitting my nephew, because her dad has this vaudevillian Three Stooges sense of humor, and he would produce these low budget videos, half-hour commercials advertising his arcade video game and pinball.
Brian, do we have a clip? Can we go to the clip?
All the excitement of pinball action can be yours.
Go find the
You can own your very own machine at a price that's remarkably affordable. All the action of the Silver Ball in your private home. Classic pinball, like the incomparable Pinbot, the colors and the sounds, even classic style CD jukeboxes. You can finish your whole game room off and select games from the largest showroom in the world. So for the next 30 minutes, stay tuned as we take you on a trip down memory lane and show you how easy it is to own your very own pinball machine or classic video game.
But there was a running gag, I remember, with an inflatable hand getting caught in things all the time. And anyway, so I always knew who Todd Tuckey was in TNT Amusements. There's the plug. And somewhere when we started doing all of this, I stumbled across Tammy's podcast that she'd been doing since she was like 8 years old, and interviewing like Imagineers and stuff that we had been trying to get in touch with. And somehow we hooked up. But what I remember when I met her was when she was raising money. She did a cabaret at a library about 5 minutes from my apartment, and
oh my god,
she did a fundraising night there, and Matt Fussfield, our buddy Matt from New Jersey, came over, and we went together to see the cabaret that night, and that's the night Tammy and I met IRL in real life for you olds out there. And I put all of my raffle tickets in the win a party at TNT Amusements basket, and I won it. So so I ended up throwing my friend Alex's 40th birthday party there in the middle of a raging snowstorm.
Wow.
But we had a blast, and so Tammy and I have been bosom buddies ever since.
I know, it's been so long. I think you emailed me. I'm trying to remember. I think you emailed me about Corinne Cook from Horizons.
Yes,
she came to your first event you had, and it was the Living Seas, right?
Yep.
Now, I wasn't there, but I think I connected you guys, and then that just kind of, I think that was how we met. Basically, I think.
Your memory. I mean, I remember that all occurred. That you're the one that hooked us up with Corinne, and
it was great. Like she was so thrilled to do it, and then and then you guys started doing bigger events, and I got to go to the next one. Whoa! I was honored you asked me. I was like, nobody's ever asked me to do go to any event before. So I was like, oh, thank you. And that was such a fun time, because then I got to meet Ali Olmo in person, who was the original singer of Two Brothers. And we just had such a great weekend, because we were practicing, and she was so nervous and I was so nervous, but we were thrilled to be there. So it was a great, great, great weekend.
Well, it all went fine that night. And then 2 years ago, we had you with George Wilkins and on stage at our last Retro Magic event. And you'll be at our next Retro Magic event. And when we announce everybody that's coming, you'll figure out where Tammy's going to fit into all that. But
we'll give you a little sneak peek tonight, probably, what we're talking about.
Yes.
So why don't we play Two Brothers and listen to that, because it's a great duet, and let's from her first album. So
and that was the song that was performed at Retro Magic 2019.
All right. So let's listen to a little of that right now.
On their way, two brothers on their way, two brothers on their way. One wore blue and one wore gray. One wore blue and one wore gray as they marched along the way. The fife and drum began to play, all on a beautiful morning. One was gentle, one was kind. One was gentle, one was kind. One came home, one stayed behind. A cannonball don't pay no mind. A cannonball don't pay no mind. If you're gentle or if you're kind. You don't think of the folks behind, all on a beautiful morning. Waiting by the railroad track for their darlings to come back. One wore blue and one wore black. One wore blue and one wore black, waiting by the railroad track for their darlings to come back, all on a beautiful folks behind, all on a beautiful morning, all on a beautiful morning, all on a beautiful morning.
All right, so that was Two Brothers, and this, you actually got to do a longer version of this than what we experienced in the American Adventure attraction, right? So tell us a little bit about you working with Allie and the mystery third verse and how you found it. And
well, we were digging and trying to hunt to where exactly, because you have to get the approval and pay for the rights to license the song. And she and I were like trying to find where the song was, and we finally found an online posting from like the 90s that kind of led us on a trail to find, the song of where it's now based now, from Irving Gordon.
So I should break in and say, like, that song was not written for the American Adventure. It is actually had a life before the American Adventure and was brought and used on it, right?
Correct. Yeah, I think it was written in the early 1900s, actually. Okay. So, so we found where the publisher was, and then we found that there was a third additional verse about the wives of the brothers, because we have the two brothers, about them, and then the mother, and caring for her sons. And that was, Allie said, that was what was pitched to her, was that she was the voice of the mother, basically, or the voice of mothers, because originally the song was supposed to be sung by a gentleman. And I believe it was Jane Jackson, and the Imagineer Jane Jackson, who asked Allie just to record it, took the cassette, put it on Randy Bright's table, and after lunch, Randy Bright went up to her and said, I think you're right. We need a female vocalist on this song, and let's use Allie. And then that's just the way it happened, just because Jane and Allie were good friends and she was doing it as a favor. We found the third verse and we're like, okay, great. Now we can extend it. And then Allie's a wonderful guitarist. So we put in this instrumental break for her to do her own guitar riff, her own little piece. And it just really came together so beautifully, and it's haunting, this new haunting rendition that we did together. I listened to it, and not because I like to toot my own horn. I just sometimes like to listen to it because I love the extended version of it. So
it's really well done. I mean, there's,
it's my favorite track on that album, just for,
Thank you. I know. I love that one too.
Yeah, and you guys did a great job when you did it live at our show too.
We were so nervous. We were practicing in the female bathroom, just like our harmonies. It was so much fun. Like, we were really excited to do it, but I think she was more nervous than I was because there's so many people, and I don't think she understood how much she is loved in the Disney community. Now she knows, because everybody kept coming up to her, and it was just a beautiful thing just to kind of sit back and watch this happen for her. And it was great. So yeah,
it's so wonderful to see that, because I that's a very, as you know, Tammy, it's a very common theme that we stumble upon. If people don't realize how much joy and that they've created with, whether it's songs or carpet on the wall or what have you, it's or fountains, right. They just don't understand, and logos, like with Norm, so you hit the nail on the head there. I'm glad that, you know, Allie was nervous for going, oh my goodness, this is a totally different reason and totally unexpected.
Mm-hmm. And even though we had like a little, it was like, I think it was like just an audio snafu. Hal Saved the Day came out and was like, okay, stop. We're going to do it again and do it the right way. And it was great. Like, cause Allie and I were so nervous. Usually I say something and I'm like, okay, stop. But I just didn't know what to do. I was so nervous. So I'm so glad you came in there, Hal, and saved the day for us because we couldn't hear ourselves for a second.
And kudos to our friends at Encore Audio Visual for having a spare cable handy,
yes,
to be able to plug in.
It was almost like when the Spinal Tap, when the pods won't open, he runs out there and he's like plugging in the wires and trying to get it open, right? It's like, I got it. It's got there with the Hal's under there with the blowtorch trying to get everything hooked up together.
It was great. It was so funny, but it worked out just fine.
Was that Allie's first time seeing The American Adventure when she came for our show?
Yes.
Wow.
So we were bad girls and we snuck out of your dessert party because she had never seen the show before. And I believe the woman who was working with you guys from Disney, she snuck us in through the front door. And so we saw the last show of the night. And then they let us stay and we sang inside the Voices of Liberty, little rotunda. We sang the song and they filmed it for us. Well, and it was just magical.
Tammy, I'm going to send you a package. I still have some Brookies and some cookies left from that event in my freezer. So I'm going to send, I do still have them. So since you missed the dessert party, I might present those to you. We'll get some.
She was so happy. So I apologize. I took her away from you.
No.
But she and then when we told the cast members, they actually made an announcement before the show and said who she was. So it was great. And then they told us that they had met the little girl, the older of not the baby, the little girl from the two brothers. So they told us that story too. So it was a wonderful moment for her. And like she just couldn't believe it when she was there. So thanks for letting us escape for a little bit.
Absolutely.
But we came back.
So if you're listening to the show and you were in that show when that announcement happened, we'd like to hear your story now.
We want to hear about that amazing cameo experience.
Yeah. What a night for those people.
It was like 15. They're all tired. They were like, okay. And then we watched the show and then they all like left and we just hung around for a little bit. So it was really, really great.
A completely unrelated, but experience similar nonetheless. One of Paul McCartney's shows in Philadelphia, let's say 2010-ish. Where my seat was as the stage was all the way, I was off the floor, but looked all the way across straight directly at the stage. And in front of me was the soundboard. And there was this ancient looking guy sitting at the soundboard with, the sound techs. And about halfway through the show, Paul McCartney motions and says, and we made our debut in 1964. We were booked into the Carnegie Hall by a guy named Sid Bernstein. Sid Bernstein's here tonight. Back here, Sid, stand up. And so this guy that looked like the man protecting the cup of Christ in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Yeah.
Stands up and gives a wave. I think Sid Bernstein died like 6 months later, but it was just the neatest thing for I'd heard that story told a million times that when he booked them into the Carnegie Hall, he told the concert hall that they were an English quartet, which was true, except he didn't tell them they were a rock band. And they shook the paintings off the wall when they played. And, so Sid Bernstein is a bit of a legend because he booked the first Beatles tour in America and booked them in Carnegie Hall. So I got to see Sid Bernstein,
Oh my gosh. Wow. Nice. That's a great story.
Yeah.
That's cool. So on the subject of duets, you have another duet on your new album for the song from O Canada. So let's play that and give that a listen because I love this one. I think it's really beautiful.
voyageurs.
Canada, Canada, you're a lifeline of wonder on this planet Earth.
Planète Terre.
Canada, you are far too fast and beautiful for words to ever really tell. Canada, 10,000 dawns and sunsets I could see and still not know you well.
J'ai suivi la trace de tes oiseaux de neige dans les forêts. J'atteins peu à peu ton cœur et je vois comme si, comme l'enfant.
Canada,
Canada, Canada, aboutissement d'un rêve pour tous les voyageurs.
Canada,
Canada, sur ta ligne de vie se tracent les miracles de la terre. Canada, comme une odyssée à travers les temps, tu es la fleur et la semence. Canada, tes montagnes, tes villes et tes mers sont tout ce que j'aime.
people from around the world have settled in your land.
For their heritage and Canada they stand, side by side and hand in hand.
Canada,
Canada, your lifeline of wonder.
So, Tammy, tell us about who you're singing that song with, because this is a person that I wasn't familiar with, but I'm sure it's somebody that it sounds like someone that you know well. And so let's hear about Cyrano.
So Cyrano is somebody that I actually just met last year, because not in person, but I had been following this production of Napoleon. It was a musical that debuted in Canada, and now it's going to be overseas. And they were doing like a test run of it just to see if people wanted to come see it. And I think he's playing the villain part in it, I believe. And the whole thing is in French. So I and there was no English translations when I was watching it from here in the United States at 6 a.m. because it was 7 p.m. over there. And I think they were doing the show in Japan. And so I saw him perform it, and I just messaged him and the rest of the cast. And I was like the only probably American following along of what was going on over there. And I was just like so blown away by their talent. So I was just messaging him, and I was like, I'm doing this album and I really don't want to butcher the French portion of this song. And I love your voice. Would you be willing to, sing the male portion of, it was originally the female portion of the song. I said, but I'm going to switch it up. And he's like, sure. So, sent him the song. He learned it, and we kind of talked a little bit about it. And then he recorded it in his own recording studio, and I recorded my part, and it just kind of became a little thing. And it was so much fun. I love the way it's, I love, it's a little bit more country in its sound. And I think it works very, very well. And I love how Josh Freelick kind of gave it a little more twang. He did the instrumental for this one. So
yeah, I remember a couple of years ago, I think it was during the Vancouver Olympics, a lot of us kind of got introduced to that East Coast, like Canadian sound, which that very much falls into. I feel bad now because I don't know what it's called. I'm sure there's a name for it, but it's that like French Canadian. What's that?
Off kilter.
Yes. But like that's a legitimate. They didn't just make that up for Epcot. Like there's a whole subgenre.
I think it's called music in the key of A. Sorry, Canadian listeners, I couldn't resist.
Well done. So yeah, I that's so beautiful. I love the instrumentation on that one, and the arrangement is just, and his voice is gorgeous. So
I know he is so brilliant. I want to meet this guy. He's still performing over there right now for Napoleon. They're just bringing.
Oh, okay.
Back, so know him.
I'm trying to think of who the bad guy would be in Napoleon other than Napoleon.
I know this is more of
I thought he was the bad guy in that story, but I don't know.
I couldn't make out what was happening. I just know that Napoleon was mean to his brother and his wife was meeting other guys and Napoleon was mad.
Oh man.
I don't know how accurate it is to the historical version, but because the only Napoleon version I knew was the one from Bill and Ted. So
well, if you're only going to know one Napoleon, that's a good one. Him and Socrates. Good combo. So, all right, gentlemen, this is we're going to have a little open discussion forum for here. So, your album now, Tammy, is one in sort of a long line of Disney cover albums. There have been ones that have been released as far back as the 30s and 40s. I've got a CD at one point that had like a bunch of Disney songs from like Snow White and Pinocchio that were done by modern artists at the time. And it seemed like that was a pretty common tactic. It's like when Disney would come out with a new movie, because they used really fabulous songwriters, it's like they would have, pop artists record the versions of those songs for play on the radio and for sale. So it's always been kind of part and parcel of what Disney did. It wasn't invented with like Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin like we think it is, because that's when we first heard Disney songs on the radio. Or nowadays, we can hear We Don't Talk About Bruno on the radio. But it goes
another
back.
way to introduce people to the music, because I think sometimes those renditions were played more often than the movie versions, as you said. So yeah, that for me, it was the Disney Mania CDs, because that's what I listened to all the time, because it was the Disney Channel stars. And that was probably the last time they've ever really done that. It's like in a real album form was those.
There were like, what, 5 or 6 of those? Or was it more than that?
7.
And then there was the other ones too, like the ones that you and I were talking about today. It's Simply Mad About the Mouse, right?
I think that was like late 80s. So that one was what, like Billy Joel. LL Cool J.
What's the one with Buster Poindexter? He does Castle in Spain from Babes in Toyland.
In our castle in Spain, you'll be living rent free. Every capital gain you'll share with me. From this village below, every cent we will drain, and your fortune will grow in our castle in Spain.
That one is actually my favorite, because and I think it's one of the most obscure ones. That was called Stay Awake, and it's all kind of like alternative artists. It like Suzanne Vega and Tom Waits does Hi Ho, which doesn't make any sense, but is still awesome.
If only Falco were on there.
Right. And Yuma Sumac, if you know who she is. In the 60s, she would sing stuff with Les Baxter songs. She's like, like all that stuff.
Yeah, the Harry Connick Bare Necessities is great. Rick Ocasek doing Zippy Doodah is great. I think my all-time favorite is the cover of Spectre Magic by David Benoit. That to me,
I have not heard that one.
It's probably the best version I've ever heard of it. And then they did the whole country thing too. The best of country sing the best of Disney. So you had Little Texas. Faith Hill did Part of Your World. Colin Ray did A Whole New World. Alison Krauss, Baby Mine, which is a very nice version of that.
Baby mine, don't you cry. Baby mine, dry your eyes. Rest your head close to my heart, never to part. Baby of mine.
And I'm just looking because I had a lot of these CDs. I had ripped them, and I'm looking back here, and then they went into a whole instrumental impressions of Bippity Boppity Bach. Remember that one?
No.
Yeah,
No.
Bippity Boppity Bach. It was everything in a Bach type thing.
Was that around the time they had all that lullaby music for babies that was?
Oh my gosh, remember those?
What was that stuff called?
There was a Disney lullaby CD too.
Yeah, that was a big thing back in the 90s, I guess, was the maybe it was called Baby Bach. I don't remember, but there was
you're thinking like the Baby Einstein thing?
Yeah, like they would you'd put the kids to bed and you'd be
Just
playing
Disney Baby Lullaby was the one I'm seeing here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was Disney Wake Up. That was the get your kid jacked up in the morning. Now I had one Disney's Music from the Park 2007 on my list, and it's a little newer, but we got the Pointer Sisters on there singing Pirate's Life for Me.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Whoa, I didn't even know that. Now I want to hear that.
Yeah, the bare naked lady singing Grim Grinning Ghosts.
I've heard that one. I like that version. That one's fun.
14
Okay,
tracks.
so yeah, Disney's Music from the Park. That's where David Benoit was fun. So that should be in it, right? Is that it?
I'm putting this down. I gotta listen.
I'm going to have to
now.
search for some of
where
those.
that was.
Yeah, I found it here.
From.
I didn't know what you were talking about because I thought it was David Benoit. So
it's not David Benoit. No,
his balls.
It's called Disney Music from the Parks. Is that what it's
2007.
Yeah.
Yeah, featuring Tim
weirdest
Curry. Yeah,
one on there is Tim Curry singing Davy Crockett, which makes no sense.
Excuse me?
At
What?
all.
Tim Curry, like It.
Yeah, from Rocky Horror Picture
Rocky
Show
Horror
and
Picture
the
Show,
movie
Tim
Clue.
Curry, Sir from
Home
I
Alone.
can't wait to hear this. I cannot wait to listen to this.
Yeah.
Oh, it's funky. But it has a country feel. Is that Tower of Power? Born on a mountaintop in Tennessee, the greenest state in the land of the free. Raised in the woods, so's he knew every tree. Killed him a bear when he was only 3. Davy Crockett, king of the wild frontier. Well, somebody had to map it.
So this is where the Brian McKnight Remember the Magic song
yes,
was.
and Bare Naked Ladies is on there. I think we mentioned that, and then the other one was what's her name?
Olivia Newton-John.
Olivia Newton-John. Yeah, she's part of your world. And Linda Ronstadt doing A Dream.
One. So I have one somewhere from the days of Napster or something, which is Jessica Simpson singing part of Your World. So it had to have been the early 2000s. It was the era when she had her reality show with Nick Lachey.
So that was on the album Disney Mania, Brian.
Okay.
I don't have a year yet for you, but I know
it's amazing. There's more of these than I thought. I remember 3 or 4, but now we're what, 5, 6 deep.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of those like Disney releasing pop artists doing it, but I do love some of the people who do what Tammy does, where they make their own albums of stuff. I'm a particular fan of Tom Amin, Ameen, who does slow piano versions of park and movie music. And I included a lot of that during our downtime at the last Retro Magic, and people kept coming up saying, "What is this? Where can I get this? This is great." And he does a phenomenal Spectrum Magic one.
Well, next event, we're going to be playing Disney Mania in the background because I want to hear Smash Mouth singing "I Want to Be Like You" from the Jungle
it's great.
Book.
It's so good.
And the Baha Men.
Oh, even better.
Oh.
That's from 2002 right there.
Oh, those albums slap, as the kids say.
Got Usher, NSYNC. And then not to be outdone, there's Disney Mania 2, Disney Mania 3, and Disney Remix Mania.
There's a lot of them. The one that surprised me was that Anderlise, I think that's how you say her name, Anderlise Van Pol. She played Raven's best friend, the one who's not as bright. And she covered Candle on the Water from Pete's Dragon. And I just remember like being shocked because I knew what Pete's Dragon was. I'm like, I'm sure nobody else who's listening to this album knows what it is. But I loved her rendition of it. It was really, really beautiful. It was like a piano, and she has such a beautiful voice. She's a vocalist. She's outstanding. So I love that one. And then there's a really weird version of Once Upon a Dream from Sleeping Beauty from a girl group called Secrets. And I always love that one. It's like a dance pop thing. So that one's a good one too, if you want to listen to something. They're all good.
Well, I'll tell you what another good one is. It's your cover of Veggie Veggie Fruit Fruit.
I simply have to tell you that my friends who are singing are delectable. Meals are divine as long as you can dine with fruit and vegetables. They're good for you, everyone. They make your meals a lot of fun. Like a carnival, it's nice to be with fruit and vegetables. Veggie fruit. There are no substitutes for we veggie fruit. Veggie fruit. See, a balanced meal always wins with our vitamins A and C. Fruit. Veggie fruit. Veggie fruit. Cha-cha-cha. My friends are exciting, just like fireworks igniting. They're incredible. Sparks always fly each and every time you try fruit
right, Tammy. So that was your veggie fruit brute. This reminds of when we had our discussion with George Wilkins about all the work that he's done. Did you get to like bounce some of that off of George when you were working on it?
Well, I told him I was going to be working on it, and he was thrilled. You know what I mean? Because originally the idea, what we really wanted to do was we wanted to do a medley. Again, I'm going to call back to Xanadu because I'm nuts. But there's a scene in Xanadu where it's the combination of the music from the 40s and the rock music, and they intertwine. And my idea was, what if we have the Food Rocks, We Love Junk, and Veggie Fruit do that? And so that's my original goal. So I asked George what he thought, and unfortunately, We Love Junk was never officially released, or whatever excuse it was, so we couldn't do it. I was like, no. But then, man. You know, I know, right? Because I love Food Rocks and not a lot of people do. But it was really great because Josh Freelick and I were talking about this particular song, and I was like, I'm just thinking Carmen Miranda a little bit. I'm thinking of I Love Lucy and her, you know, Desi doing like those big band pieces. And I'm like, I just think that would be so interesting to have more of like a big band sound to it a little bit. And he was like, I know what you're thinking. And so he sent me that, and I was like, oh my gosh. I think that was the most excited I was during like the instrumentals coming in, was that track. And I was like, oh, this is brilliant, because I can dance to it too. So
yeah, it is definitely high energy. There's just so much stuff going on in that track. It's like,
recording it was so much fun. Because Brendan, who is the sound mixer, had never heard the song before. And after each take, he'd be like laughing hysterically, because I would do the lower voices. If you listen closely, you can hear the cha-cha-cha, because that's all me. So he was laughing hysterically. And then we came back to the studio a week later. He's like, that song is in my head. It's still in my head. I'm like, I said, I know, it gets stuck.
It is. That song is an earworm for sure. Absolutely. So another thing that George worked on, and we got to talk about this, was he did a load of orchestrations for Journey into Imagination. And I thought it was fascinating that you took a very different approach to how you did One Little Spark, because when you first told me, oh, I'm going to do this song, you know, I have the version in my head a zillion times over from the Epcot album, which is just Streamfinder and Figment from their section on the Dreammobile. And so when I got to hear this, I was just like, whoa, I did not see this coming at all. So let's play it. Let's play your version of One Little Spark, and then we'll talk about it when it's over. So, all right. So here's Tammy Tucky's One Little Spark.
Imagination. 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 One little spark of inspiration is at the heart of all creation. Right at the start of everything that's new. One little spark lights up for you.
What about science?
Technology, like a newfound potion, allows us to marvel at mysteries of motion.
Water dances where visions begin. Science reveals a life within.
I'll wind the dial and time escapes. Watch minerals change to crystal shapes.
Let's look at nature at this speed. From germination, then back to seed.
Skyrocket soar towards outer space. Imagine yourself in an infinite
place. One chilling word, like shrink or killer,
can spark the mind to start a thriller. Add some more sparks like dagger, blood, and gory.
And then story. Sparks, imagination.
That's how our minds create creations
Right at the start of everything that's new. One little spark lights up for you.
Mix red and gold from autumn flowers.
Purple and blue from twilight hours. Green summer hills and rainbows play a part.
A painter's brush.
Ooh.
A work of art.
Costumes and sets,
spoofs and romances,
with laughs and tears and footlights all aglow.
The sparks ignite.
A brand new show.
Come on, everybody, let's go. We all have sparks, imaginations. That's how our minds create creations right at the start of everything that's new. One little spark lights up for you.
A dream can be a dream come true with just that spark.
In me and you.
Again, I was blown away the first time I heard this because it's so complicated. It's got all of these parts, the feelings change, and you got a great Dreamfinder to be on this with you too. Tell us who it is and what he's done, and because I think if they ever need to cast another Dreamfinder, it's like I think we have our Dreamfinder. So.
Yes. It's Patrick Richwood, and I have watched this man as a kid in Adventures in Wonderland, which was this television series they shot at MGM Studios, I think for a year back in the 90s. And I watched it on VHS tape all the time. And then I met him because he was doing a show locally, and I'd interviewed him a couple times and finally got to meet him. And we've been in touch for so long. And
who was he on Adventures in Wonderland?
Oh yeah, he was the White Rabbit. So he was on the rollerblades and in that big fursuit, the poor man. And he's not that tall and everything. So, but he's just such a sweet guy, and he's so good at the character development. That's why Gary Marshall has used him in all of his films. He used him in Pretty Woman as the elevator gentleman who goes up the elevator with Julia Roberts and Richard Gere, and he does the que sera bit in Beaches, and then he's the nosy neighbor in The Princess Diaries. So he's known for his character work, and he can sing. So I just texted him and I was like, could you be my Dreamfinder? And he has no knowledge of this ride at all. He doesn't know anything about Dreamfinder or Figment. So I just send him all this material, and he's like, okay, I think I got it. And I said, please make it your own. And I already had recorded my Figment, and then he was just listening to that and kind of played off of it and recorded it in New York. And this is the song I was worried about the most, because I knew Figment and Dreamfinder have a huge fan base and you can't get this wrong. So when Disney allowed me to use the lyrics that were in the attraction, which shocked me, I was like, okay, great. Now we have like a whole different, way of presenting the song. And Josh Freelick grew up with the attraction. While I probably saw it once, but I was like 1.5 because they took it away. 98. Josh grew up with the attraction. So he and I collaborated and worked on how we wanted to do it. And we didn't want to put it in the same order that the ride goes through because we wanted to surprise you. So that was, and we just kind of talked through it because that was the most complicated one to figure out how we wanted it to be pieced together. And I really loved how it turned out too. So I'm glad you guys really love the attraction. So I was just happy that you guys liked it. I was like, okay, good. Yeah. I can check that off. We're okay. Everybody likes it. So
yeah, it's so rare to hear all of the songs and all the lyrics from the attraction because there were so many of them. Todd, we just went through our whole journey into Imagination Revisited on our movie night. Yeah. And I was probably, for most of the people watching, that was probably the one place where they've been able to see the entire ride through its entirety with all the lyrics and things intact, because sometimes you'd catch half of them as you move through a room and then you were gone before the next set would go in. So it's just really cool, Tammy, the way that you did that. And again, remixed the order, made it your own, kept it surprising. Really good. And
as a performer, because she's not just a singer, she's an actress as well. She captured the dash of childish delight perfectly in her performance, which was an interesting choice, an unexpected choice. When I first came on, I just expected to hear one little spark, and there was like a whole a whole vignette going on, and
Brian was like, well then she could be a Figment.
Yes.
I'm glad you liked it. Yeah.
I think that's one of the other interesting things to me about the album is you just didn't, it's not just Tammy Tucky like singing from Tammy Tucky's point of view and your voice. It's like you really do kind of adopt a different character for every song. And there's a different Tammy on each track, which was really fascinating.
That was also the hardest part, because I would go to the recording studio and Brendan would be like, okay, we gotta find a character for this, because he understood where I was coming from. And sometimes it was difficult. Like, I don't know if I can jump ahead, but when we were trying to figure out I See You, that was the most difficult one to get through, because it's so vocally demanding. And it's like, well, I don't want to be Leona Lewis. And then what type of sound am I going for? Because it's a 90s themed. So he was like, maybe just go for Celine Dion. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, I can try to take that and work with it. And literally we had to come back a week later because it was just not working out the way I really wanted it to sound. And I came back a week later and we did it, and we did it within like an hour, and it worked. And sometimes it's just going back to the drawing board of like, what does the character need to sound like? And you have to be consistent because you're doing multiple takes. Not to say that I'm so perfect I can just do one take. No, I wish. But you also have to keep that sound. So that was another concern with Figment, is like, you have to keep that voice continuously. So it's a challenge. It's a true challenge, and you're working your muscles and your vocal muscles, and it gets exhausting. And one point I said to Brendan, I said, guess what? I'm coming in there because I'm sitting down because I'm about to pass out, because you have to like really, not push it too hard. So yeah, it was tough.
Yeah, and we're not going to play every song on the album, but as long as we're talking about this, I just want to take an opportunity to point out some of the other songs that are on it, because I will tell everyone you can go get this on Spotify, and you can listen to it on Apple Music. But of course, we encourage you to go out and buy a copy of the CD to help reimburse the costs that Tammy went through in order to make this happen. But like
take me out of my hole.
Yeah, your vocal performance on Hellfire is incredible. There's some songs in here I'm like, this isn't the Tammy that I know. This is like a very mature, different Tammy that I'm accustomed to, which is freaking awesome. So like that performance knocks me out. Your version of Main Street USA is like very theatrical in sort of like that Brigadoon kind of, big way, which was fascinating. And Brian, you're on that track too.
Yeah, Brian.
Yes, I am.
You can hear him too. Put those earbuds in. You can hear Brian singing.
As Tammy says that I don't hear me, but You know,
oh, I can so hear you. Like Brian was having so much fun that night at a recording session. I just couldn't stop smiling. And you were singing with my dad, so you were even like more on cloud nine. So
that's true. We were Todd and I were bringing up the rear that night.
Yes. And my dad's like, I kind of know this song.
Well, that was the same thing with me. I'm not the person that stops and watches the trolley show. Like when I walk into the park, I'm on my way. It's early. Let's get to Jungle Cruise and Pirates before there's a line. Like I'm not stopping to watch, you know, good morning. It's a beautiful morning. You know, that's not me. So I mean, I know the song, but I don't know the song. So that was the first night I'm sitting there with the lyric sheet. And the thing I remember most about the recording session is we're singing that, you know, it's no illusion, it's this game that's serious. And Tammy's stopping us saying, no. I love how they go, it's no illusion. Like we had to emphasize the no, like we were punching the no. And, you know, I'd never been in a recording studio and had directions like that before. And so then you're self-conscious about it when you're singing it. Like, and then no illusion. So now whenever I see it, I'm like, there's no illusion. It's true.
You guys did great. You did great. You guys made it a great character, you know.
Thank you. It was fun.
You also have I think just a gorgeous version of Bright Little Star, which I know I'm personally not a humongous Sonny Eclipse fan. I think the show is fine, and I know a ton of people are, but that's one of those songs like Todd, where like that's the first time I've ever really understood the lyrics to that song, and really got a chance to take in like how beautiful they are. Like that is such a beautiful song, and you know, Sonny is a great performer, but I think you sell the song to me for the first time in my experience of it. So. That one really stands out as a highlight to me too. There's a version of We'll Meet Again from the Tower of Terror Q, which I know that we all know because that's super famous while you're waiting in line. What am I missing? ICU that you talked about. And of course, an original, Cowboy Needs a Horse from Frontierland, which I think came from not from Spin and Marty. That was like in a short, right?
I think in 1948 short. Yeah, my dad had it and on film, so 16 millimeter. So I'd seen it before, and then I saw it on the Disney sing-along tapes because they cut it down to like 2 minutes and just the song. So yeah, it was cute, and it plays in the background at Thunder Mountain Railroad, near Thunder Mountain Railroad, and I did not know that because that was a replacement song for another song that wasn't released. So I was like, oh, great, because I know the song and I thought it was really cute. And so
yeah, that's really pretty too. That's another one with the like really great voice, and I love the sort of simple or like again country-ish kind of like arrangement on that one with the guitars and stuff. The guitar is beautiful on that. Yeah, and then finally there's an original. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, Josh and I were talking about that one because he did that one. And I said, what I'm picturing is the Three Amigos, but that scene where they're just sitting by the fire and it's just like a quiet moment where they sing the song. I said, that's exactly what I'm thinking.
What was that? It's just a coyote. Oh. I never slept outside before. Take it easy. Take it easy.
Blue shadows over
on
me.
The trail.
My mom watched a set of twins when they were, 1, 2, 3 years old. And I used to sing My Little Buttercup to them all the time from the three. My little buttercup has the sweetest smile.
Oh, Brian and I are going to do your musical section of Retro Magic in October. Everybody, so get ready.
Absolutely.
And I'll be like, these amigos are falling from the sky.
There's one more song on the album, though, which to me is kind of special because you actually wrote it. This is a Tammy Tucky original, but it's based on an attraction, right?
Yes, it's based on like my favorite attraction of all time that I've never even seen, Cinemagique, which is by our really lovely friend Jerry, who came to Retro Magic last time. He directed it.
So she's talking about Jerry Reese, for those of you who weren't at Retro Magic and don't know.
Yeah, and basically the concept is this guy answers a phone call while you're watching a film, and then the characters in the film pull him into the movie. So you're watching him go through classic films and surprises, and he falls in love along the way, and then he has to escape the film. He has to go back to real life. So will he be able to do it? So I kind of took that as an inspiration for a new story and writing a song, because I get nervous when I write songs a lot, but I never really put them out there at all. So just for me. And my last written song was from 2015. So this is like the first time I've released one in a long time. And I was really nervous because it's a little bit, it's out there. It's not a typical, song, and it's more of a story song. So I just really loved putting it together, but I was so nervous.
That was an attraction for the Disney Studios park in Paris.
Yes, 2002, I think it came out, because that's when that part of the park opened, right?
Correct. And then it ran until 2017.
Yes, sadly, I never got to see it. One of these days, maybe, and they might bring it back. No, I don't think so. But yeah. I think Tony Baxter worked on it too, because he was there for the last performance of the show because he loved it so much. There's like photos of him at the performance with the guy who plays Martin Short at the beginning of the show with the crazy wig. I had to find it. I'll send it to you guys. But yeah, it's a really wonderful piece. And I got a message from Jerry and he really liked it. So I was like, oh, phew, all good.
Oh, good. Well, it is lovely. It really is. So, so you're going to be with us when we have our next Retro Magic event this October, or September 29th and October 1st, right, Brian?
Yeah, well, wouldn't be a Retro Magic event without Tammy Tucky, right?
You're filling my heart with so much butterflies. I love it. Thank you. I can't wait. I'm really excited. So I don't know what you guys want me to do. I'm going to be finding out, everybody, along the way.
We just keep talking about it. Tammy's always a big help with connecting us with some folks that she's interviewed over the years, or trying to entice folks who might not be. So she discussed with Allie being nervous about coming there and performing before a group of people and a song that she had not sung since 1982. So Tammy's a great help to us in that respect. And there are some other folks out there that are helping us try to corral some things. And I know Hal's working on the graphics so that we can finally announce some of our confirmed guests. I'm hoping next week or so.
Yes.
And it's going to be an exciting mixture of folks that had stuff to do with Epcot Center. Maybe a couple of Epcot 94 folks, maybe an Epcot 95 folk. By the time it was Epcot 96. Folk. Well, those are the Epcot Center folks. Their Center covers about 11 or 12 years. And then you
there's a line down the middle of Retro Magic this year.
Right? And then it became just lowercase Epcot.
There's a line down the middle of Retro Magic, like where we just step from one, lose the center.
The prime meridian will just
exactly, yeah, we'll just jump over it. We're in the entire first half of Retro Magic will match the length of Dark Side of the Moon. So if you've ever heard that thing,
I'm also gonna say, without revealing what they are, that Tammy is loaning the Historical Society some artifacts for display, some stage used and prop artifacts that are from some of Epcot's most notable and memorable performances and attractions. That's all I'm going to say.
They're right next to me, right over here. I have them all ready to send to Hal.
They're coming. They're going to be.
They're going to be there. All right.
They're going to be in the Centurium on display.
Oh yeah! I can't wait for you guys to see.
Well, since we're talking about Epcot and older Epcot, let's go back to Tammy's first album and let's play her really cool mashup of Tomorrow's Child and New Horizons.
Shaping a world that
That's like the big cap off number, isn't it? It's like, boom. Mm-hmm. So do we want to talk real quick, just to like a refresher in case people have never heard of Retro Magic, like kind of what it is in a nutshell and what we're doing it and where to get tickets and all that stuff?
Well, sure. You can go to retromagic.org or retromagic.net. Either of them will get you to where you need to be. That gives you information about the show and the performances and the guests that are coming and all the particulars. But it's going to be the weekend of as you said, the September 29th and October 1st this year, held at the Convention Center of the Walt Disney World Yacht Club Resort there in Walt Disney World. And we have a welcome ceremony scheduled on stage for Saturday evening on the 29th. A VIP cocktail party before that, which is sold out at the moment. And then on Sunday, there's an all-day event where it'll be more of the presentations and panel discussions and lots of really, really cool stuff having to do with Epcot Center. And I also want to mention that Tomorrow's Child, New Horizons mashup. Let's not forget that Tammy and Allie closed our 2019 Retro Magic by performing that in their own impromptu live duet. It was not recorded as a duet, but they handled the curveball and went up there and hit it out of the park. What a great way to end that show.
Oh, that was fun. That was a blast. And we were practicing at the hotel a couple times because Allie kind of was putting a harmonizing arrangement of her vocals to mine. So it really worked out perfectly, especially with the I think you had some video footage of Epcot behind us too. So it was the perfect, combination.
And we can't wait to have you at our next one too. So thank you.
So there.
For being with us tonight, for walking us through the album and telling us some of the behind the scenes stuff with it. It's been a real pleasure to have you, and tell us all the places that someone can find you online and how to get your album and
your podcast
and see your video show. Yeah. Cause you do, again, you are like the triple threat. It's like you have one of the longest running podcasts in probably Disney history. It's like you sing, you dance, you perform. It's like you do all this, if there was an Epcot, you got it. So tell the folks where they can find you.
Well, first off, thank you so much for having me on the show. It's been a lot of fun, and got to give credit to, Hal, because he really helped produce my album, and I could not have done it. I wouldn't have stayed sane. Poor Hal has all these text messages to me going, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. And he was just so encouraging and sweet and helped with all of these questions I had. And I couldn't have done it without you. So thank you very, very much for being so amazing.
It was my pleasure. It really was.
I send Hal text messages like that all the time too, so don't feel bad.
Okay, at least I'm not the only one. So
I tell him all the time, Tammy's not good enough. Tammy's not good enough, and he that right there is a Todd Tucky joke. Right there is a Todd Tucky joke.
Oh, he's gonna be so happy when he hears this. He's gonna be like, I've been mentioned twice. But you can find me at my website at tammytucky.com, which Hal designed, by the way. If you want to buy the album Glowing in Timeless Places, you could buy a CD copy if you want physical media, which is always appreciated, or you can stream it and buy it on Amazon or iTunes. It's at tammytucky.com/order. And you can find me on Twitter, Instagram at Tammy Tucky, Facebook at facebook.com/singer Tammy Tucky. And I'll be back with my podcast a little bit more because I've been busy with the album. The end of May, I have about 7 interviews lined up, and they're all live, and they're on Friday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern. So just keep an eye out at youtube.com/Tammy Tucky for more fun updates about some really great interviews. I have a really good one coming up, so I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, and she has an incredible. How many episodes do you have of your show now?
300. I think I'm at 300 now because I started back in 2011. So I think I'm around there. Yeah, I think I'm around there now.
Yeah, I do not say this lightly, but Tammy has interviewed a who's who of Imagineers and musicians and singer-songwriters and performers, and I mean, an incredibly wide gamut.
And people
that I'm jealous that we haven't been able to
people that are gone now too, like Ed Asner. And did you interview Helen Reddy?
I interviewed Helen Reddy,
yeah.
Debbie Reynolds, Ed Asner. Yeah,
all folks that are gone now. That Tammy got a chance to chat with them about stuff that they did related to Disney often, and sometimes just related to other stuff that they did. And, I love going back and listening to those. Yeah, very.
It's been great. I love doing the reunions, and now not only is the podcast.
Oh yeah, when you put Leslie Ann Warren and John Davidson back together for the Happiest Millionaire.
I had to mute myself because they were admitting that they both had crushes on each other during the filming of that. I felt like I was in a room that I shouldn't be in, and I was like, oh my God, I couldn't believe it. So I had to mute myself. I'm laughing.
There is not a night that passes now for the rest of his life that John Davidson's not going, damn. What a missed opportunity.
And Leslie too. They were cute.
That got away.
But yeah, I not only Disney, but I'm now kind of expanding to Broadway and pop culture in general. So it's now called the Tammy Tucky Show, because it used to be the Tiara Talk Show. It's now the Tammy Tucky Show. So
The Happiest Millionaire, when I finally sat down to watch it 10 years ago or so, I literally watched it in 2 days because the movie's like 3.5 hours long. So I sat there and watched the first half, and then I went to bed, and then
you came back after intermission.
And I did. I stopped it at the intermission and went to bed. And then the next day I watched the other half of it. And it's because the version that's out is like the longest version. And
yes,
although this is not a Disney musical or film podcast in any way, shape, or form, but when you do read the history of it,
it's
Walt
Philadelphia.
Walt passed away when it was in production. So the theory is that had he lived, it probably would have been a tighter, more well put together film than what was ultimately. They just released everything like, oh, we filmed all this stuff, let's just release it. And they cut one song, which is on a Sherman Brothers CD from the early 2000s, which I love. And I love the song, which is about the kids coming home at Christmas. But none of that has to do with Tammy's album. I still love to talk about.
Might have something to do with the third album. Wink.
Oh,
no, just kidding.
My goodness.
Maybe not. I don't know.
Christmas album.
Oh my God. Oh Lord.
It could just be all Parks Christmas music.
I had to do the Disney Princess's 12 Days of Christmas song. Have you heard that?
I would appreciate if you did not do that.
Well, if they do that, I nominate Brian to be Geppetto. What's his name?
Avery Schreiber.
Avery Schreiber. Yeah, you can be Geppetto.
I thought you were going to say the Drew Carey Geppetto for a second.
No. We go back further than that.
We go way back.
Give me a real boy.
Pinocchio, you look like pepperoni. Pinocchio. Sorry.
It's
so bad.
Yes, he's the possibly Italian, but also possibly German father of Pinocchio.
I'm not too sure.
It works,
but it's okay. Yes.
That works in Switzerland, right? Because you're kind of right in between.
That's right.
There you go. That's right. Yeah.
He's European. That's it.
Well, thank you again, Tammy, for being here. And Brian, take us out.
Follow the Lake Buena Vista Historical Society on Twitter and Instagram at LBV History and on the web at lbvhistory.org. For all things Retro Disney World, including exclusive merchandise, visit us on the web at retrowdw.com and on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at RetroWDW. And follow our hosts, Todd McCartney, on Twitter at WDWMS, Hal Bowers on Twitter and Instagram at GoAwayGreen, JT Cougar on Twitter at LS1JT and on YouTube at Rubber City Motoring and on the web at rubbercitymotoring.com. And you can find me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Brian P. Miles. Retro Disney World is the monthly podcast of the Lake Buena Vista Historical Society, a nonpartisan, nonprofit, tax-exempt 501c3 organization and is not affiliated in any way with the Walt Disney Corporation or any of its subsidiary or affiliated entities.
Someday, somewhere, I will find her in a universe above. Tell her, little star, I'll surround her with all my love. Good night, little star. Watch and keep her till we meet again in the glow